Hello, it is Wednesday the 14th of August 2013. This is the headline that got me quite concerned today. Benghazi whistleblower lawyer, stolen Libyan missiles will be used to shoot down aircraft. Now, this is really important information for me, and I think it would be for most people. My name is Jamel Booker before the record. And a year or so ago, we were told that, firstly, I wasn't a huge fan of Gaddafi. But secondly, I think what they put in place in Libya is worse than Gaddafi. And thirdly, a year or so ago on the mainstream news, if you're in Australia, if you're in Sydney, both the left and the right, ABC, SBS, 7, 9 and 10, called all the Libyan rebels, they labelled them as freedom fighters. Now, this is very concerning because these weapons have gone missing, and Benghazi, that's the Al-Qaeda flag. First Google search I did came up there. In Benghazi. So, I believe that taking any innocent life is just crazy, but people that are pulling these guys' strings and are very powerful people as well that operate as the puppet masters. Why this is so important is that the public were told that they were freedom fighters, and we knew, well, the independent news did, right from the start. I got the information I believe is the biggest independent news source in the world that reports truth, Infowars.com, based out of Austin, Texas there, and I'm sure a lot of people know who they are, but I didn't until recently, fairly recently. And I go there to get my news. Now, it's run by this guy here, Alex Jones, and he employs reporters. They do news shows. They get extremely important people on the shows to explain things about what's going on, and I don't think we're getting the truth on the mainstream news. Why it's so important that these guys were called freedom fighters by the mainstream news, and I think we can all remember that if you're in Sydney. That's the meme they went with, where they were funded by, I believe, criminal elements in Western governments as well. Not saying that all people in government are bad. I'm saying that, and also, I've got no time wasted on these guys, because if you're taking innocent lives, that's absolutely shocking. But the people pulling these guys' strings, I think a lot of them aren't Arabic, and they're not Libyans. Now, and they're not looking after the best interest of Libya. Let's be honest about that. And you've got a whistleblower here. If you pull the YouTube clip up, if it's still there, that is the clip there where the lawyer says that his concern is, I'm just pulling it up there, here we go, lawyer fears 400 missiles from Libya may be used to attack. And if a commercial airliner goes down, we need to know why, who did it, and we need to know the true story. Hopefully that YouTube clip will still be there, and this clip I'm doing, I might only get a few views, but to me, I came across information like this myself, other people just doing things like this. Now, I think it's so important for people to do their own research, even if I'm not a journalist or anything, but I've started up my own podcast, and in Australia, well, I go to Infowars.com, that is the biggest independent news source in the world, and I just encourage people to find out for themselves. Don't listen to me. or don't just listen to me. And Drudge Report, I believe, is the biggest linked news to real information that is run by a guy, Matt Drudge. I follow him on Twitter. So it's a real person. That's why it's called Drudge Report. And I believe it's the biggest independent news site in the world, drudgereport.com. And I know a lot of people know about this, but I didn't know about these news sources till recently. But he's got a talent for linking to real key important information, and that's what he's gifted at. I don't think he actually writes articles, but I follow him on Twitter and he writes some real good stuff there too. And links to great news. I mean, important news that I think that, Natural News, this is a great news site run by Mike Adams, who is a guy that lives in Texas. There we go, front page, you've got Fukushima there, which is a radiation which isn't on the mainstream news at the moment. So I'm just running through now key news sites that now, if you're a local Australian, this is a guy that I know and I have on my podcast, the Jamel Bookaboo podcast, Real News Australia, and he's done a great job just setting up his new site here. He's one of the headlines: Israel outlaws water fluoridation. Now, everyone says fluoride is great for your teeth, and that's why it's in the water. But if you look up, Hitler gave fluoride in high doses to the Jews to make them more compliant. And so, do you think Israel is taking the fluoride compulsory out of every drinking water in the country for a good reason? So, fluoride is another thing that we don't get on the mainstream news. They just say it's good for your teeth. Why is it really in the drinking water? Now, this is going to how a guy like you or me can make a difference. This is a guy that I know and have on my podcast. He's written this article, The Hegelian Dialectic, and it was just published on InfoWars, which is the biggest independent news site in the world, and I think he's done an excellent job. And it basically explains what's behind left-right politics and the paradigm there. And I'm not that, my IQ isn't that high, but I can understand this. And then you look at the news and how it's all orchestrated and everything. So what I'm getting at is real information is very important, and I believe that we're not getting so much information we need to know on the mainstream news. It's going to be up to individuals and alternate news, and for individuals to make their own minds up. That's what I did. I didn't trust anyone. I just, this is another one, conspiracyoz.com. Mick Raven runs this site, and he does a weekly podcast on Sundays. I'm on it quite regularly. And then you've got my site, jamelbookaboo.com. Now, I'm just a regular Australian guy. I'm a musician. You can get me on iTunes there. I'm an actor. I work a couple of other jobs too. Got my podcast. And my podcast is when I talk about things like this. So I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a journalist. I've never, and I don't claim to know all the answers, but I like to cover information. And I think that if you're not comfortable with making a YouTube clip or something like that, you're probably better at things that I couldn't do. Like you're probably great at printing up T-shirts or making people aware. Right, I'm not the world's best writer. My IQ is not that high, but as long as I can understand information, process it, and share it, that's as far as my podcast. My podcast, I was originally going to talk about everything, but my first 5 I've had people on, I think, better informed than me on subjects, and I can ask questions as a layman, and that's my health tab on that product, longevity, which is, if you go to health there, it keeps you healthy, and it's got the liquid nutrition that you don't get in our foods because our soils are depleted now. My podcast is just something I've decided to do, and I'm a bit of a larrikin myself, I'm an Aussie, but I take my podcast pretty seriously. I don't say things that I've got a sense of humour, but on issues such as this, I really want to link to real information, and people can research for themselves on key things like this thing, and going back to Benghazi, which is a massive piece of information. Now you've got a congresswoman here, and she says that now when Ambassador Stevens a few months ago was killed by Al-Qaeda forces basically in Benghazi, there were apparently, this is what I understand, and I'm not all-knowing and all, I'm just a regular guy, is that there was a drone and there were troops ready to defend the ambassador. And this is important because arms were transferred, I think, to Al-Qaeda, and the stand-down order was given by, only one person can give a stand-down order, and there was a drone, I think, above the embassy which could have protected the ambassador, and the stand-down order was given by, well, this congresswoman said can only be given by one person, and that's the President of the United States. If I can play that. I think I can play it. So, that's, there we go. Ann Wagner, Republican, directly blamed President Obama for ordering a stand-down order. Now, what's so important about that is that the weapons are now in the hands of Al-Qaeda. And if a commercial airliner goes down, we need to know why, how, and who did it. So it is up to whistleblowers, individuals, to get the information out there. And to me, that's today it's been a massive piece of news for me. So I'm just sharing it, and so there you go. But do your own research, and mainstream news isn't always going to tell you the truth on a lot of things. So have a good day, and peace be with all of you.